So we invested 50,000 each. That's how we got started. So we then set up Tribe.
Kevin Yates built one of the fastest growing UK and global gym franchises. And in 2022, he was Entrepreneur of the Year in the health and beauty category.
You know, the US market was flying at the time. Yield was dropping on memberships. And then you had the rise of the luxury market and the boutique markets, which we're all in now. And running your own club is harder than running 175 clubs. Just for the aircon alone was 150,000. First franchise location was in Russia.
You know, how does a franchise model work?
That's a big question. Basically, we take a percentage of revenues. It is by far one of the most successful clubs that we have. Franchise fitness market's growing by about 14% a year. You're going to have some dark days as an entrepreneur. You know, enjoy the ride, enjoy the lows, learn off the lows, learn off the highs, and you know what? Just enjoy yourself. But you can only enjoy yourself if you're passionate about it.
Thank you everyone for joining us for another episode of the CEO Journey podcast, where we talk about all things business and entrepreneurship. Today, I'm joined by an entrepreneur who has built one of the fastest growing UK and global gym franchises. And in 2022, he was actually crowned Entrepreneur of the Year in the health and beauty category. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Kevin Yates to the podcast. Kevin, how are you doing? How's life treating you?
Thank you, Tom. Awesome. It's a great day here in Sheffield. So yeah, really good. Thank you for having me on the show.
No worries, and thank you very much for your time. So, Kevin, to get straight into it, for viewers who possibly don't know about Tribe, don't know what it's about, how would you describe it to them, and what does Tribe represent?
You know, Tribe is a huge community club. It's all about high intensity, fun workouts. You know, we're in high streets that you would not normally see big operators and gyms, but we're offering that luxury, quality looks, feel, industrial looks of a high-end facility that you would normally maybe be seeing in central London, New York, in other high streets. And we're not in London. We're in great places like Sheffield, Leeds, Manchester, great northern cities, and great places to be. Obviously, we're expanded. We're in the Helsinki. We have a wonderful location in Helsinki with Sami. All across Spain, we've got some wonderful locations in Barcelona, Madrid, superb. And we expanded in just up at a really cool location with Harry and his team in Dublin. And we've got before the pandemic, we had great stores in China and places, but clearly with the pandemic, we have had a few structural changes.
That's incredible. So I guess I'm interested now to take it back to, I guess, your earliest context. So, you know, talk to me a bit about your upbringing, your childhood. What was that like? And is there anything in that context that really shaped the entrepreneur you are today?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, my dad was I'd say an entrepreneur in that sense. He never worked for anyone. It was a construction. So, you know, I always saw the troubles and stripes he had as well, you know, especially in the early 80s, and, you know, going through that period where it was very difficult for construction work and stuff like this. So I saw all these ups and downs as being a self-employed entrepreneur, you know, building houses, building things. And, you know, and I always liked his freedom that he always had as a dad. For me, playing football as well, never missed a football match, always able to block off and make sure it was there for my Saturday games and for my midweek workouts and stuff. So, you know, I always found that kind of upbringing, I thought, you know, that, you know, not being a 9-to-5 guy, which my father wasn't, really stead me in good stead. Always, he was a good dealer, so he knew how to commercially get a deal and negotiate. So learned a lot of that on negotiation and conversations. So yeah, took a lot from my early upbringings on building sites as well. And so, but I played football. I didn't make it, obviously, and went on to football, joined the military, and then started my physical understanding of you know, doing all army PTI kind of stuff, battalion PTI, and then when I left the army later in my life, then joined a fabulous business called Fitness First, as a lot of us did back in the day.
What were you like in school, Kevin? Were you a academic student? Did you take well to the education system, or was that completely the opposite?
No, I was a mid student. I wouldn't say I was a high academic student in that sense. I was very focused on my sports, football, education. Did all my education just like, as I drive my kids hard to be highly educated as we do. But I was very more hands-on, I would say. But I did love certain aspects of education, sports, history, biology, that kind of stuff. So I was very focused on certain areas of education that I've constantly used even now.
No, definitely. And what I'm interested in, I guess, is your military experience as well. So what motivated you to go into the military as a person?
Yeah, look, I came from, I really just wanted to be part of the military. I think if either I was going to play football, I was going to be in the army. And I always had that as an early age that I wanted to do that. I wanted to serve. And I was very fortunate, to do that. And I had a wonderful time from my military service, met some spectacular people. And I was in there, nearly 5 years. So I had a great time, served, did a few tours, the usual stuff. But yeah, and as things happen, you want to come back to civil life, and you think there's other things on the horizon. And, we were doing certain maneuvers. We were going on to Queen's Guards and stuff. And I didn't really want to do that at the time. We'd just spent 2 years doing active island duties in the late 90s. So I decided, it was time to come home.
Do you reckon like that military experience really set you up in terms of character building for future?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the military is a wonderful life as long as you work hard and you're disciplined and, you stick to the rules. But otherwise, it can be fantastic. You can travel the world, see some wonderful things, and meet some great people. And, the stuff that you get to do and learn, I think it gives you all the tools for life, just by making your bed in the morning.
Yeah.
As daft as it sounds, is a discipline. And just by, making sure you're on time, making sure your timings, make sure you're detailed, all adds a value for being a successful entrepreneur individual. Because if you want to be a great entrepreneur, discipline is key, because for the first part, you're going to be on your own, and, setting something up, it's not like you're going to be starting with millions in the bank. You're very lucky if you are, but discipline of being able to, manage yourself is key in building a business.
No, definitely. And I see that. So the prior guest was a guy called Matt Chadwick, and he was actually in the parachute regiment. And, I've interviewed other entrepreneurs like him and yourself who have had that military background, and then they've been able to take what they've learned, all the discipline, all the mental and physical attributes that they've gained, and then apply it later on in life and really achieve great things. So that's definitely a correlation I see, and I'm sure you agree with that.
I think it's absolutely true. And I think, people, you read all the books and people say, oh, you've got to get up at 4 a.m. and you've got to get up at 6 or whatever. You got to get up when you feel ready to get up, and you got to go to bed and get your 8 hours sleep. That's key. And even in the military, we went to bed a lot of times. I mean, we'd sleep a lot and we'd get up early, but we'd get our sleeps in, that's for sure. And at the same time, the only difference is it gives you longer in the day to do things. But my whole ethics on this and ethos is, it's about productivity. How productive are you at certain times in the day? So I'm highly productive, first thing in the morning between, 6 and 8. I can really get through all my emails and get through all the data and get things done. Some people like to go out and work out first thing in the morning, get that done, and then come back and get started on the day. You just got to find a balance that works for you. And I think, having the discipline of self is key to that. So you don't need to follow, Mark Wahlberg or whatever, getting up at 4 a.m. and stuff like this. There are, if you speak to, Zuckerberg and all these, I know it's different now, but he did a lot of coding all night, went to bed half the day. You'll find your wins. You'll find your own win.
No, definitely. And I completely agree with that. So was fitness first your first stint in the fitness industry?
Yeah, I mean, fitness first was, only a few locations in at the time, about 4 locations. And I was very fortunate as a young guy joining and learning the gym industry, learning about fitness and opening clubs and how you could expand into different markets. And that business grew to well over 500 locations across 37 countries. So it was a phenomenal time in the industry, especially from 92 through to the early 2000s, where the industry exploded. You got LA Fitness growing were crazy. You got First was going, hell for leather, just really opening locations. And then, the US market was flying at the time, with Bally's and, the companies like that were really big at the time. And so, the whole market really shifted. And then we went through a real problem in the sector, which was, really, bad low cost facilities, which were, charging ridiculously low prices. Yield was dropping on memberships. The service in the business totally dropped. And then you had the rise of the luxury market and the boutique markets, which we're all in now, and this whole movement. But then better low cost came in, like your pure gyms and your gym groups. They started to offer great low cost for affordable pricing. So the whole market's been going through evolutions that really fit what's happening in the market right now. So, when do low cost come in? When does a high end come in? It's all these economically led as well.
No, definitely. And how far were you able to progress with that company?
So I was in Fitness First. I ended up as like the national group manager for all the across the UK entirety business. Yeah.
So how many? Was it a case of you were managing X amount of gyms or X amount of people?
Yeah, we had 172 clubs in the UK at the time. So my job was all about fitness, product, services. We had about 2,000 personal trainers. We had probably another 3,000 Group X people. So basically, we had a leadership team underneath as well, regional managers, support teams, and everything. Designing new programs, products, services, fit outs of the studios. Yeah. So I did many different roles within the Fitness First group as we grew from training academy. We had a couple of years, myself and a guy called Tim Keatley, who went on to do wonderful things in the US. We were training all the teams how to actually run the clubs and be fitness teams, studio training, so you could actually take classes. So we did couple of years. We set up a training academy, how to run a club really successfully. So that was quite fun. And then we went on to do more club openings and and support. So that's how I really learned the business of opening a club and training people to get to that next level.
No, definitely. And I'm guessing you were able to build some key relationships with great people in the fitness industry at the time.
Yeah, I mean, most of us grew up there. So the people who hung around are pretty much doing, CEO roles now, or MD roles, or senior roles, or they're basically entrepreneurs and done it themselves. I know most of those people have come out of Holmes Place, LA Fitness, Fitness First, David Lloyd, all these kind of clubs, and people have gone through the ranks who've hung around for 25 plus years like ourselves, and are probably working in decent roles or running businesses, and all gone alone, standalone. Very excited.
No, definitely. And what was the point where you left Fitness First and decided to go at it on your own?
Yeah, as a friend of mine, myself and a guy called Dan Summerson, who's now MD of Everlast. Our first site was, I think we were like 32 or something like 30. We opened we actually bought a building. So we invested 50,000 each. That's how we got started.
Okay.
We opened our first, we bought the building, and then we opened a small gym. It was about 3,000 square foot, little gym in a high street, in a village. And we opened, that was our first. And we did really well. It was great fun, and that's how we got started. And then we leveraged the building to open about 12, 13,000 square foot next club that we got going as well. So that was highly successful. And so one was in a place called Barnsley, and the second one was in Sheffield. So they were the first two locations. And we just built from there. And then, and then we said, as the boutique market started to move, I was very involved in the boutique sector in different capacities. And I was like, look, we got to do this ourselves. And so we then set up Tribe in Sheffield, on the other side of Sheffield. And Tribe was Sheffield was our first location.
No, definitely. And how did you adjust to that transition from, obviously not having big responsibility at Fitness First? Obviously, you were had a lot on your plate at that time, but then going completely at yourself and having all of that responsibility now under you. So how did you cope with that transition, do you think?
I think, one of the first things that anyone who's going to be an entrepreneur is get a great business partner. Doesn't and not necessarily a friend, but get yourself somebody who you trust, who's got different skills to you. And I had that. I had a wonderful, and we both complemented each other with totally different skill sets. Opening your own club and running your own club is harder than running 175 clubs. It's harder than running, 2,000 clubs. I promise you now, because all you're doing is managing people when you're running this side of the business. When you're doing your own business, you've got payroll to do, you've got your VAT to do, you've got tax, you got to set up phone lines, you've got to set up your heating bills, you got to do your landlord deals. And then you got to start marketing, and then you got to come with a brand name, and then you got to trademark it. All these things that you'll learn, you're so more accomplished. When I see the guys who have got CrossFit centers and they're on their own, those guys are far better than some of these non-entrepreneur, but people who are running or operating whatever for someone else. They've gone for it, and they've got my utmost respect, because they know more about business, running a business and payroll than anything. I mean, I remember doing my first payroll. My first payroll was £1,750. That's all it was. And I'd never been as scared in my life, about the day that we were going to have to pay this first individual that worked for us. Yeah. She was the first person that we'd ever employed. So you're not paying yourself, you're paying someone else. That changes everything. When it's your money, it changes everything. And so I got total respect for people that, start their own business, one club, get started, and understand all the things that start to come with that. It's much harder. I promise you that now.
No, definitely. I love the point about having that great business partner, because as well, you go through difficult times whilst doing this, and having that other person there who's going through the same things as you is just that extra level of substance, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, you need somebody who's a real good lateral thinker. I mean, a little story. We'd signed for a building, and our second building was a big building. I'd never done a deal like this before in my time personally, and nor had he. And the rent in my mind now is tiny, but then it was huge. I mean, it was ridiculous. And we had about 70,000 of liquid cash left to do this build. Okay. And we'd had some issues with aircon. We went and asked someone to give us a price, and the price just for the aircon alone was 150,000. I went outside and I was basically like about to faint. I was like, I mean, that didn't include, we had to still fit out this club. And he was so calm, and he just said, don't worry, we'll make this work. We got a plan. We finished the aircon in that system for about £15,000 in the end. Okay. But the point I'm trying to make is, if I would have been on my own, just me, I don't know where I would have done. And that's why you need your opposite. You need somebody who's opposite, a great partner that's going to, don't worry, I've got a plan. Let's make a plan. And so I learned a lot off that as well. So you're always learning off each other. What am I good at? What are you good at? And, we built that club, and it was super successful. But the point would be is that you're going to come across real issues, and you need someone to bounce off, and it's better to share the pain.
No, definitely. And, obviously, what was the opportunity that you spotted with Tribe? And I guess, what was the process of you having that idea, spotting the opportunity, and then going to your first store in Sheffield, first gym in Sheffield, sorry?
I think, if you look at all the data and research, about 60-70% of your success is about timing. You take YouTube. YouTube would have been no good in the early 90s. Okay. Why? Because you're on dial-up and you can't download. Okay. So all about timing. The timing was that we'd started to move to a better system, dial-up and everything. And it was the same with Facebook. You didn't have to plug in anymore. Suddenly we got better systems, and we got better way of downloading, and we weren't waiting for screens to buffer and everything else. So he had a perfect timing, and but he got a great product. He got something people wanted. So the question is, have you got something that people want? And is it a perfect timing? And timing is everything that you need to be thinking about. So when we were looking at boutiques at the time, the timing was perfect. Why? Because the industry had gone through a price reduction. We'd just gone through a real crash in terms of economy in 2008. It was all coming back round. You'd started to see a growth in the market. People had more disposable income in the pockets, and you got the rise of millennials. And this whole millennial rise wanted to spend money and look after themselves and do things. And then it was about experiences. People were looking for experiences. And so experiential. And let me give you a different sector where experiential changed. Cinemas. If you look at cinemas, it all went downhill. People, they were charging $3.99 a film, or you could buy £12 and come. But it was disgusting inside. Dirty seats, not great. Now it costs you about £60 to go with a family to go to the cinema, but you get reclining chairs, you can have a beer, you can have food, and still you go, they make as much money and they're doing better. And the ones that are really dirty and it's not really an experience, people are not going, because if I want to go to the cinema, I want to go and I want to have a great experience. Otherwise, I'll just watch it on Netflix and I'll download. The point would be is it's the same with gyms. People were looking through that period for an experience. Yes. Now, things are changing in the market, because gyms have got so much better. And so there's a whole shift now in what people are looking for and requirements. So this whole new generation are really looking for stuff like high rocks now. But they're looking for event base. I want to join an event. There's more people joining events. So can I get onto a leaderboard? What's my success look like? Where do I fit in this leaderboard remade? So there's a whole different transition of newbies that are looking for new things.
Definitely. How did you cultivate that experience with Tribe then?
It was all about, touch points. So everything had to be Instagrammable. Everything had to have a purpose. So basically you come in, the first time you have a workout and you get a photograph, you go on the wall, and then that shows, that you feel part of that connection, right through to, how the workout is, the luxury towels, great soaps in there that smell amazing. So after you finish your workout, you get a wet cloth. So we worked on sight, sound, and smell, 3 sensors. Key, what does it look like? What's it sound like? What's it smell like when you come into these facilities? And basically then, the experience with the experienced team, i.e. our coaches and our front of house team, how they interact with you, communicate with you, totally different to a normal gym environment.
No, definitely. And I can completely agree with that as well, because I go to a gym here in Bath, which is, I mean, it's pure gym, but the experience I find is absolutely atrocious. The decor's awful. And it just puts you off, and it does make you question, is it worth the price? So it's great to see that you definitely had that approach when stepping into the gym market and getting the experience completely nailed down. I'm sure that set you apart from all the other players in a sense. But I guess talk to me a bit about the earlier, those first years when, building Tribe. What were the struggles that you faced, essentially?
Real struggles, financial. You're always going to struggle with a bit of financial. It took longer for people to understand what the business model was. We were doing boutique in local areas, which which people were trying to understand. Well, what is it? I've never done this before, so that took us a little bit longer than expected. The first club went well. And that's why we were confident to grow. My mistake was growing too quickly.
Okay.
And we went too quick and we went too fast, and we chose a couple of wrong locations.
Right.
And as we got going, we did a couple of silly things that we shouldn't have done, and that was our stumbling block, because at that point we needed to raise capital. And once you start raising capital, you start losing equity, you dilute, and all these things. And so things that I would say to any entrepreneur who's getting started: really understand what your end goal is and where you get to, and be very clear on that vision. That I want to get X amount of clubs open. Okay, so how are we going to do that? And what's your timeline to get there? And will that need to raise more capital? And if it does, what does that look like for you?
Yeah.
And then at the same time is, ask yourself, if that was half or a quarter of what your target is, at what point do you want to, not just raise the capital, but it's like it's your equity dilution that gets you to that point. And so what are you going to be left with? Because at the end of the day, you might be better just having a quarter of that and you've still got the money yourself, or you take the whole hit and you still got the same money as if you'd had a quarter. So there's a lot of issues that can come with raising, but there's a lot of benefits that can come with it as well.
No, definitely. And prior to that, you're talking about, the mistakes with location. And that's one thing I found very interesting reading about you, is in the location initiative. So why did you choose to start off in Sheffield, and then you obviously expanded to, a lot of northern cities. So what was the opportunities that you saw with those locations?
Yeah, I mean, Sheffield was it is a great location for us. It's been spectacular. It's not been any problem whatsoever. But the mistake I thought would work well, and we did. We opened another one in Sheffield.
Okay.
And that was a huge mistake. And the mistake was, when it looks like a good deal, it's probably not a good deal.
Okay.
And so the rent deal was like off the scale. It was like really cheap. We ended up going to a place called Meadowhall, which is a shopping centre just outside. It was a terrible decision, and really hurt us. We went to Leeds afterwards, and that really helped us. So that was, really topped us up and got us going. And we went into a shipping container. We did a shipping container. That was another bad decision. But one of the good decisions that we made, we partnered in Spain with an industry friend called Rod Hill, and that got us our first location in Barcelona, and that was a good deal. So we got started there, and that really started getting the ball rolling again after a couple of bad spells that we'd had in the UK market.
No, definitely. And then going on to the part you were talking about, the capital raising, which is also crucial. How did you fund the initial developments of Tribe?
Yeah, I mean, look, everything was self-funded with the business partners at the beginning. So we got started. We went out. I started to do franchising. So our first franchise location was in Russia at the time with a guy called Alexei, and we got started there. And then, when we sold some like a rights deal for Spain, which we did with Rod to set up in Barcelona. So that was a nice deal. So suddenly we were opening up in a place called Aribau. We got a few locations across the UK. We'd now got Moscow open. And then we had a fantastic guy called Sammy who took a franchise for Helsinki. So that really gave us diversity in different countries and gave us leverage, of which we then sold some rights to China. So we started to really look at all these different markets that we could start to maneuver in as quickly as we could. And then at the same time, then we started to move into another location in Madrid, and that's when we did a deal with a cash deal with a company over there to basically set up our first location in a place called Cusco in Madrid. So really then expansion was really, really, really good. I mean, look, no one expected a pandemic. We had to raise a ridiculous amount of money and everything else, and every club, somewhere all closed down for some period of time. So everybody has been through that pain. We can't keep going on about that. What we got to do is, at the time it happened, the team and I spent a lot of time just making sure we could get through that well, strong, and come out the other end.
No, definitely. And I know that you had a strong relationship with Jonathan Fisher, didn't you?
Yeah.
So could you elaborate on that relationship with him, and how crucial was he?
Right. It was pivotal. We did the deal for Cusco, which was a joint venture deal with the Cusco club first, which was in Madrid. And after that, we wanted to expand. And then that's when the Fisher family, instead of the company, but the Fisher family came in as the main investor into the business. That's when we took our first major investment, which really gave us real industry opportunities and growth and scope. And working with Alan, his father, has just been spectacular. Just having someone like that in the business to be able to confide in, have good conversations with, and he founded Home's Place. I mean, it's just been a unbelievable ride to learn off the guy. I mean, it's been a spectacular.
And aside from like the capital standpoint, as in actually raising the money, what else are you looking for in an investor to help you propel Tribe further?
Yeah, I mean, look, one thing you're looking for is, have they got the skill set that you need to bring to the business? Are they looking for growth, and what are they looking for as an exit? So, are they is it short term or long term investment that they're looking for? And so if you look, if you're looking for a quick short term investment, probably not the right business partner you want to get into. You want somebody who's going to put capital in, work with you, help you, coach you, and basically get you to that next level, which is, what does that look like in terms of your trajectory, and making sure you're both on the same wavelength of what that looks like. So, is it 5 years? Are you looking for a 7-year exit? Because, an investor is in the title. They're looking to invest to get an exit and a return on the capital. That's what everybody's trying to do. Yeah. So you really need to understand what their win is. It's very difficult. You don't really want to be looking for an investor that's only got short-term capital. They might come to you and say, look, I need to sell out right now. I've got something else I want to get into or whatever. You need somebody who's, going to really help you get to that next stage.
No, definitely. I'm also interested in like the franchise model because, I just don't really understand how difficult it is and how you actually roll out a franchise plan. So, how does a franchise model work? Essentially,
that's a big question. That's right, quite. Look, franchising is, in my eyes, the most wonderful thing to offer the right people. Mm-hmm. And one of the items we speak about and the vernacular that we do is creating wealth for others. And wealth can be many things. It can be financial wealth, spiritual wealth, just the wealth of having more time with your family because you've got your own business and stuff like this. So, for me, somebody who's putting into a Tribe location, we see them as partners, business partners. Mm-hmm. Because the key is that they're putting capital in and you want them to be successful. Of course you do, and to drive their business forward. But franchisees are so amazing. Mm. They work so hard. It's theirs, and the conversations are different. So, I was speaking to somebody the other day about this, where you've got a franchisee or you've got somebody who's an owner-operator. What I mean by that owner-operator is somebody who's working for the company but running that store. They're a total different mentality. Yeah. That's somebody who just, corporations got like a Pure Gym, like you've just said, that manager in there is working for that business on a salary of whatever, getting paid whatever. When you speak to a franchisee, you've got to be able to empathize and get onto their level. So the leadership and the conversations and the tonality of how you are with people is totally different. And you've got to be able to get into that and really work hard with them because it's their business, not yours.
And I guess their incentives are truly aligned with, properly, because obviously they've put capital in. It's their business essentially. I mean, I don't know how much stake do you take in when you roll out a franchise?
Well, no, it's not a stake. I mean, basically, we take a percentage of revenues in any franchise location, and then we offer all the tech support, training support, and everything else. And most franchise operate in this type of model. But at the moment, what you've got is somebody who, if you imagine where you've got all these franchising in different countries, and then suddenly you get hit with they're all closed down.
Yeah,
now, they've got no way of generating income. They've got no way of doing it. So you can't, it's not like an employment where you're turning around to them and saying, don't worry, we'll put you on furlough. Or if you're on Spain, we'll put you on what we're called CERTE in Spain. You can't do that. It's like, they're saying, well, wait a minute, this is my business. And so now you got to work with these people in a whole different way of making sure that they can get out of this pandemic. Now, that's hopefully once in a lifetime situation. But at the same time, imagine that you've got a franchisee that's not doing too well. He's not generating the income that he's supposed to do. And now and now you get into the end of the month, and there's payrolls to run, there's things to do, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's hard. They've got to work really, really tough. Then you've got the successful side where, they're doing superbly well, and, they make 10, 15, 20, whatever a month clean. They've got a beautiful house, going on holidays and everything, and they're grateful. And then they go again and they open another one and open. So you get all the excitement to seeing people being successful, which is fantastic in any business, because when you're creating employment for people, there's nothing more rewarding.
No, definitely. And is it a case of the people looking to own part of the franchise coming to you and they're saying they take their plans to you, and then you decide from there and sift out who you want to run that particular gym?
Well, most people come with an area in mind. So I think if you were down in Bath or wherever, you'd basically say, you know the community, all your friends are there, your family or whatever. So you'd probably say, hey, I want to put what's called a pin in this area. So you'd buy a demographic in an area, and you'd basically say, I want to be on this high street. And then we would help you look for a location on the high street that fits the modality that you're wanting to operate. So that's how franchising works. And then, we'd say, yeah, there's no other franchises near you that would work. And we do a lot of data study and demographic data to understand whether that location is the right location for you to open whatever it is. And that's how all franchising, whether it's a Chick-fil-A, whether it's a Domino's, whatever type it is, you're looking at demographics areas, and does your modality, whatever type of program you're going to be operating, whether that was an F45, Orange Theatre, whatever it is, does it fit the personas of the area or the type of demographic that would normally go to those locations?
Have you had any horrendous experiences with franchise partners before?
Not really horrendous experiences. I mean, look, the franchise partners are tough. I'll tell you that now. They don't mess around, and they'll tell you how it is. So it doesn't matter whether you see yourself as the CEO, president, chairman's, whatever it is, they'll tell you straight. This is unacceptable. Not doing this. Da, da, da. So unlike where staff, if you want to call them, the staff would probably sit back and franchisees are not going to take no for an answer, and they're not going to take any waffle, should we say. They're going to be pretty brutal and straight if things are not going the right way.
No, definitely. And what would you say separates a successful franchise partner from one that's not?
Hard work. It's just simple as that. Hard work, understand your business, understand your people, and it's putting the groundwork in at the beginning. Franchisees put a lot of time and a lot of effort in at the start of it. Or if it's an owner operator, he's got his team, because he's got different franchises. He's got a good leadership team that he knows is really putting the effort in to get those going. Because it takes a good 18 months for any good business to get really moving and get that 12 months through and get the first window of the next quarter in the following year to really get some upside and see that you've got some traction. But, key is always having a great manager in that location and people. I mean, look, a franchisee cannot run, it on his own. He needs to make sure he's got some great people trained well, that he rewards well, or they reward well, sorry, to drive the business forward.
No, definitely. Then in terms of like tribes expansion, first of all, in the UK, what are the key strategies and decisions that you've made, as in, running it, that have been pivotal to see a lot of success with your expansion, I guess, with tribe?
I think, after early learnings, I'd say, of bad locations, is taking time to understand the best locations you want to be in and waiting for that property or that building to be ready. I'll give you an example. We waited for, I signed the first franchisee, which was a wonderful lady called Katie. She's spectacular. And she was the first, yet she was about the 12th store to open.
Okay.
As a franchisee. And why is that? Well, we waited for the best location that is in the business, and which was Manchester in Central on Deansgate, and she got it in the end. But the building was being built. It was just unfortunate. We would, it was all being dug out. You were never going to get this building again, and we had to wait. Now, the patients are waiting for years. I mean, a couple of years she waited to get that store open. Was unbelievable. And then she opened it, and then we had COVID. So, but the point would be is it is by far one of the most successful clubs that we have now in the organization. And she waited for that. And why? Because we knew that was the best for her. And her and her husband, who was also exceptional, waited for that location. So don't be afraid to wait. Patience is a virtue, as they always say. But patience on locations is always key. So you don't rush because it can be expensive.
No, definitely. And then in terms of COVID-19, because obviously that's an elephant in the room, although it's past, you probably had a lot of time to reflect on it. How did you fend with that? How did that affect Tribe? And obviously, you're here now and you're doing amazing. So what allowed you to really grow out of that and push forward?
Yeah, I mean, look, none of us expected to be closed down that long. That was for sure. We had a wonderful team that really helped our people. It was all about creating confidence. Let's not kid ourselves. A lot of the government schemes in the UK were really spectacular, unexpected. So whether we like the government or not, getting furlough was the most generous deal in any European and global country offered by far. And promise you, because we had clubs in Spain and our staff got nothing near that. And we had deals with banks, you had deals with your credit cards, loans. Nothing like that existed in the US. Nothing. There was no support in that sense. It was all about raising debt. And then the CBIL loans came in, which really helped get companies through that period. Really low bearing interest rates, which were well worth doing. And at the same time, it was up to us to help do landlord deals for franchisees or for ourselves, where we got corporate locations. And so we were able to really help, facilitate through that period. And at the same time, we were still selling franchises. People were buying franchises and looking for that next growth. But I think what my teams would have said to you, if you asked them, they'd say, we really cared. And we really cared about all our people. We helped them through that period to get through, because none of us knew how long this was going to be or what was coming next, or how it was going to affect the global economy. I mean, it was, if someone had said to me, on day one, this is how long it's going to take, we'd have took drastic changes and decisions, and ones that would have been probably detrimental to the business. And it was actually good that we didn't know how long things were going to be, because we made decisions on a weekly, daily, hourly basis of things that were changing. I mean, I'd got 3 screens set up down here in my basement, and I got 24-hour news on, Marcus, what's going to happen, and I was speaking to my teams from 6 a.m. in the morning till like 8 o'clock at night, just making, this is happening, keep things, what are you doing, how are you feeling, and a lot of that was about, making sure the mental health of the teams was got out of it.
So I was just going to say, do you reckon that solidified you as a business and just made you, much more in tune with, all the operations that are going on?
Look, I think we were all learning. You can always look back in hindsight what mistakes were made through that period, but we did what we did as best we could with the tools that we were given. And, it was a tough time. It was a tough time for the teams, and it was a tough time for business. And, people came out of it, businesses have come out of it. Businesses came out of it with a lot of debt, and we've had to, sort that out. But at the same time, it's, I think the global economy is still reeling in a few issues behind the scenes, and stuff is catching people up. But I think as we get to 2024, now you might feel like it's a long way off, but it's not. It'll soon be here. I think we'll see a real movement in the economies.
No, definitely. And now, obviously, coming out of COVID-19 and just looking on, at the future, where do you think the future of the fitness industry is heading, and how are you at Tribe, keeping up to date with that in a sense?
I think that look, the future of fitness is wonderfully exciting. Not just from a base of digital systems, because there's a whole place for digital that's coming through, whether that's fitness in the metaverse and all this kind of stuff, AI, fitness-based information. But I have never seen as many individuals coming back to gyms, boutiques, and fitness right now. It's a little less in certain areas because people are not working as long, say, in the central of the cities. So, but what that's helped with is that there's more opportunity for where you've got out of the big city. So the big in central cities might be 20-25% behind usage where they were before, but the people that are actually paying are coming back more often. And we've actually can see that in the data that we've got more people coming back more often who are using it right now. And I think there's going to be a whole change of growth. Why? Because the older generation have got more things that they're working on, but where you see the millennials are really working hard and using studios, but you've got Gen Zs, and now you're going to have these alphas that are coming through that are all understanding fitness. They're all doing booty workouts, strength workouts. Yeah. They're all doing these kind of lifting programs, and they're all buying Gymshark clothing to come in and there's a whole boom coming, and the market's growing. The franchise fitness market's growing by about 14% a year, and the gym market is expected to grow constantly for the next 10 years. So I don't see any downturn in fitness and in gyms. And let me just say, whenever there's been a recession, because everybody said, it crashes in the recession. The data doesn't show that. Whenever there's been a recession, there's been an increase in usage in the gym market. All they do is change where they pay and where they go. So if you're paying £40 a month, you might pay £20 a month, or you might go somewhere. But the gym market keeps growing, and it's definitely here to stay. It's an exciting market to be in, and it's an exciting market to invest in.
No, definitely. And one thing that was interesting that I actually read in an article is that you're obviously looking to get into the metaverse, and I saw somewhere that did you buy a bit of property on the Sandbox or something like that?
We've been doing a bit in the metaverse, and we did it with a guy called Andy Hall. He's a spectacular, intelligent guy on the whole metaverse and about Sandbox and about social engagement through that now. So if you look at him on Twitter or follow him on stuff like that, he's called Andy Hall. He's super, super smart. We've done a lot of work with that in terms of we created our own virtual metaverse tribe on there. We're doing a little bit of building on there as well. So we've got a lot of way to go and a lot of learning. And as that old market evolves, I don't know where it's going. So I'm not like a social expert on it, but I know that it's going to be, it's somewhere where we want to sit in terms of our digital funnel. Yes. And we don't want to miss that growth opportunity. So we'll play anywhere we think there's going to be some growth.
Definitely. And one thing that I'm getting throughout this podcast is that, Kevin, you as an entrepreneur, you're always looking at staying ahead of the curve, learning new things, keeping an open mind. And I think that's integral. So how important would you say that is to any entrepreneur out there with any business, just to keep learning, keep up to date with new market trends, and just really exploit that growth?
I think you've got to be well at the forefront. I think if you sat in an office not listening to stuff that's happening with ChatGPT, or you're looking at what's happening with AI right now, or looking at real opportunities and different modalities and segments within markets, you're going to miss it. And there is so much excitement that can be used and integrated in different ways to really understand your markets and everything. I mean, look, you've got great brands like, let's say, MyZone, who, tracking data, creating communities and all that kind of stuff. That's a whole community in terms of digital workouts, understanding your data, partnering and all that kind of stuff. So how can you use and partner with the right partners like a MyZone, like all these other tech providers that give you information about your communities that you want to serve? And that's how you've got to start. You've got to be always at the forefront, thinking about how can I use that? What can that be used for? And as an entrepreneur, you've got to be definitely all over that.
No, definitely. And what motivates you as an entrepreneur? What allows you to get up every single morning and think, look, I'm going to absolutely crush it and just smash it out?
I think just, perseverance of building something after I'm gone. So, building legacies we back in the Roman times, you build statues and stuff. Well, these brands, I would say mine and my business partner, Dan's, these are our statues that we want to leave behind, that people will always remember. And, one of the great thing for me, has always been, fundamentally, somebody always said, what's your purpose? And it was to create employment. Yes. And in a market where employment's going to get very, very difficult in the future, because there's going to be so many AI, tech things coming out that are going to take, positions, jobs, whatever. Yeah. You've got to think about different ways of creativity and stuff that are going to be helpful to basically create employment. And people, are always going to want service, the job to serve. It's always better to go to a Starbucks and get it from a barista than get the Starbucks from a filter coffee system. It's the same Starbucks, it's the same coffee. The question, where would you rather pay? Would you pay an extra 20 pence and get it from somebody who wants to serve? So the idea of serving, it'll still be here, and so will gyms, and so will boutiques. Because I think that, people will always want one-to-one personal training, face-to-face. They'll still want digital concept. They'll still want all this kind of areas. But I think, for me, creating employment in all these types of remits, I think it'll be something I'm very excited about.
And let's say, like, if someone were to go up in the, far, far future and say, who was Kevin Yates? What do you want to be remembered for?
As a good dad.
As a good dad. No, that's absolutely important. Is that something that building a family, has that motivated you to even, push farther and achieve, more than what you were previously wanting to achieve prior to having a family?
Yeah, and look, my family is the most important thing, man. I'm in a great family, and friends around me is key, and hanging out with my inner circle, as we say. Yeah. We call it our circle of trust. So yeah, that's most important. I've got 3 beautiful daughters. I've got a beautiful dog called Bonnie. She's sat here down here. Cool. And my wife. So my family is key. We're building that, and building something for them to see, and is exciting.
I think that's incredible. And I guess a final question, just to round off this podcast, Kevin. What would be, the key bit of advice that you'd give to an entrepreneur looking to get into the fitness industry right now?
The first thing is, are you passionate about it? If you're not, just don't do it, but be passionate about it. It's a passionate industry. And I think you've got to be passionate about anything that you're going to put money into and try and get going. If you're passionate about food, go into food. If you're passionate about, kids workouts, going to kids workouts, it's a lot easier when you love what you do. And I promise you now, you're going to have some dark days as an entrepreneur. And I tell you, the fundamental point of being an entrepreneur or a CEO is the loneliest place on earth. I promise you now. You're on your own, in your own mindset. You'll feel like the world's against you. You'll feel like you're putting all the effort in. And then suddenly you'll have up lights will come on, and you'll have an unbelievable day. You just yo-yos every day. Every day is a yo-yo day. And as long as you can deal with that and really enjoy the ride, because the ride is the main thing. It's the ride of a lifetime. Enjoy the ride, enjoy the lows, learn off the lows, learn off the highs, and you know what? Just enjoy yourself. But you can only enjoy yourself if you're passionate about it.
No, I think that's incredible advice. And Kevin, great place to end off the podcast. I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I've learned so much, about what you've done, what you've been able to achieve. And there's so much practical advice there for any entrepreneur, not just in the fitness industry. So thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you very much for your time. Is there any last words you'd like to say to the viewers before?
If you haven't been to a tribe, come and have a workout.
No, definitely. And I'll be putting all of that in the description for people to check out Tribe Gym. Kevin, thank you very much. I hope all the viewers enjoyed the episode, and make sure to stay tuned for the next one. Thank you very much.
Great stuff. Thanks, buddy.